Hello, this is Samadan, and welcome to the War Within Alpha. Now, as a gold maker, I want to look at professions mainly and see how they pan out in terms of gold making and having a look at what kind of potential there is there. I'll start this off by saying, obviously, this is all alpha, things are subject to change. This is just going to be an initial first look just to see how things look. From my initial first inspection of it, it looks very much like a continuance of the Dragonflight system. I reported it back last week on the Wowhead Economy blog. Just going through some of the basics there. I've got my mini warband here set up with a couple of characters who are going to try out a few different professions. We'll have a look at it, see how it is, and I'm going to talk about my thoughts as a kind of like an overall, really, as to how I think the professions will work, what kind of things we'll get out of it, possibly from a gold making perspective. There's a big unknown really at the moment in terms of how work orders are going to work, in terms of like, are they going to be region wide? That's going to be very interesting, because that was one of the big things that really put me off professions in Dragonflight. It was mainly, well, there's two things. One was when we got the region wide auction house, which I understand is, from a player perspective, is a really good thing. But from a gold making perspective, it puts us all in this same pool and everyone's competing, and the niches are just completely squashed and the markets are completely suppressed unless you're completely efficient or have a very efficient setup with your knowledge points. So we've got knowledge points as well. So knowledge points, I imagine, will be the time gated aspect to these things. I'm going to look for things mainly like we had with the Dracofists, something that we could transmute, or maybe the cloth cooldowns, something that we can turn into something that I can put on the auction house, because I really didn't like the work order system, because I didn't want to sit around in trade chat trying to find customers and that spending that time online looking for people and trying to negotiate the prices and things. It really isn't how I like to A, play, or B, make my gold. So I much prefer the auction house method. So this video is going to be heavily weighted as someone who is old and likes the old ways. I like the classic way of making gold with the auction house as it was. I liked the way we had servers with their own independent economies, material prices and everything included. Since the region-wide auction house, and since professions have gone skewed more towards work orders, the appeal has definitely diminished for me. But that aside, I'm still looking forward to playing this. I'm just going to play it probably a bit differently. I think with Dragonflight, I kind of lost my way a little bit, and I didn't even play the storyline that much. With this, I'm really looking forward to just getting in and enjoying the storyline, probably on just one character. I'm not going to try and spread out over every profession. Let's have a look at what the professions look like at the moment. Let's go in, so we're not staring at one screen for the moment. So I've had a brief look already at things like alchemy and leatherworking, just to see sort of what they entail. It's really handy. You've got a load of NPCs here that you can literally just buy all the bits and things you need. This looks very much like the Dragonflight professions. So I've got alchemy and leatherworking on this character. So if we have a look here, so I've only really got myself to 54 alchemy just with what we've got here. Specializations, you can just buy knowledge points, which makes things really easy just to test things out at the moment. So we have alchemical mastery. Thaumaturgy is the transmutes, I believe. So let's have a look at. So we have perform acts of thaumaturgy, which is going to be our cooldowns, I believe. Chance to receive additional transmutagen when performing acts. Learn a subspecialization. Performing acts now have a chance to create a core-way catalyst, and then reveal a beautiful gemstone, and then now grant gleaming transmutagen. Transmutagen. It's going to be difficult to pronounce that. Gleaming transmutagen, a random combination of mundane transmutations. Okay, so you've got gleaming and you've got the regular ones. And then your first act each day yields a significant amount of extra. So you're going to be wanting, if you're going to be setting up an alt army, you're going to be wanting to have that fully maxed out and then just do your first one each day per character. It's probably going to give you some extra bits there. So let's have a look. Understanding the fundamentals, increasing skill, that's probably one you're going to want to go for. The gleaming, let's have a look. Have we got anything gleaming? Things like gleaming. Okay, blasphemite. I've heard about this. This is going to be the main thing you're going to need. Desirable diamond is acquired by alchemists that is regularly practiced thaumaturgy. We bought and sold on the auction house. This is the kind of things we're going to be looking for. And so from that you need gleaming, transmutation. Let me just have a look. Is there anything? So thaumaturgy, and to perform a miracle with 20 materials. So this is a bit like got recraft equipment there. This is like reclaiming concoctions we had before in Dragonflight. So if I take something like these are all herbs. I've just kind of grabbed a whole load of stuff. I don't know which of these are going to be. These are all raw materials, really. Well, let's try something like that. Okay. One or more requirements needed to craft this recipe. Okay, we need the Philosopher's Stone for that. Can we buy one? That'll probably be the easiest way to do that. Let's go filter classic. Can we buy a Philosopher's Stone? Let's just have a quick look. Master Chef, Warehouse Peddler. So we've got the Spark of Omens, so it's going to be your Spark equivalent, and then your Artisan's Acuity is going to be your Artisan's Metal equivalent. Let me just see if I can find a Philosopher's Stone or something. Okay, I'm not going to be able to test that out with Philosopher's Stone because I'm going to have to go out and make myself either one from Classic or level all the way up to 80 and see if I can get hold of one from here, because this is requires level 80 for this one. So we're still at early days of testing this yet, so I can't fully make things, but let's have a look at where we're at with things in terms of alchemical mastery, thaumaturgy. So we're here, gleaming, transmutation, ominous materials, volatile materials, and mercurial materials, and all my different transmutations in those recipes. In terms of transmutation recipes, we've got all these gleaming glories. So we've got the blasphemite there, mercurial transformation, volatile, ominous herbs, and then you've got, I don't know if these are going to be on a daily cooldown. Available crafts 1 of 1, so maybe there's going to be more of these on a daily cooldown. These are 8 of 8. So maybe there'll be a way of increasing that, maybe in our specializations. Let's have a look at, these are all maxed out already. I just quickly click through everything. So the typical alchemical mastery, alchemy skill, your basics, learn to craft harmonious horticulture, formulated courage, now humorous rather than deadly most of the time, alchemy skill, your typical things, blessing, blossom law. So basically I'd look at these and I'll try and min-max what can I do, like you do to sort of with Dragonflight at the moment, try and look to see where can I be most efficient in my transmutation. The same with whichever tools I put in here and my accessories, try and maximize those and see if I can beeline for what's going to be the most in demand thing. I'm taking a first guess that this blasphemite is probably going to be one of them, but if every beginning alchemist can get this quite quickly, then there's going to be a lot of alts doing this. So I imagine it may even be to the point like we got with the Dracothist, where you have to actually be a certain level, you have to unlock a certain thing, but we don't know how warbands are going to work with everything like that. So there's still plenty of things to discover yet. We're still very much early stages, but I think from what I can see, this would be the kind of route I would go. You could go full on maximum efficiency in potions, or flasks. That would also be another option. The tree doesn't look particularly massive here. Profession vials may be useful. Anything where you're dealing with commodities, you're going to be dealing with a region-wide auction house. So you are competing with whoever's got the most efficient methods possible with the cheapest materials possible. It's going to be the same with a lot of the professions. So I've got a feeling with alchemy, certainly it's going to be the daily cooldown kind of stuff. This thaumaturgy probably, with this transmutation, is going to be, if I was going to be putting things on the auction house, that's the way I would go. I mean, looking at your general sort of other professions like sort of leatherworking, you've got your leather armor, which has got all the different bits and pieces, legs, grass, waistbands, hoods, mantles. You could specialize in these and start selling your wares. The same with chitin, which is the male equivalent. You've got the tree there. And then flawless fortes, specialty items beyond that of standard armor. Armor kits. Profession equipment. Profession equipment, I didn't get a huge amount of success on those, even though they weren't region wide. I think you have to really go for the higher end profession equipment, and the ones which were you needed work orders for, and especially on me on a low pop server, that was particularly difficult to find work orders. I mean, I'm considering. I wonder what the actual the public work order system is going to be like. That's going to be very interesting. If it's region wide, can you imagine just the speed at which everything's going to be coming on and being redeemed? It's going to be a case of like whack-a-mole and hope for the best, and being able to calculate profits if it's not profitable or not. I could see that being an extremely fast-moving market where you're going to be lucky, but it's very hard to tell at this stage. Most of the time in Dragonflight, public work orders are either completely non-profitable or they've been snapped up early on, and you never see anything, especially on a low pop server. So I'll be interested to see how that pans out in terms of the war within, when whether they do anything to improve that. I mean, this is all looking like your standard bits and pieces here. Probably, let's look at the practice hat. That's pretty decent. 547 armor, nice level 315. Where's the Arathorian patterns? Okay, torchbearer grips. These are looking pretty decent. And you've got bestial patterns, Nerubian patterns, and then the standard PvP bits and pieces. There's so much here to potentially specialize in, but whether there's a demand for these, it all depends. You know, everyone's going to do their min-max bits and pieces and things like that. And then whatever's best in slot crafted gear, once that's been well known, that's going to be the one to go for. But I would be looking for things that I could make efficiently, that I could put on the auction house again, if I was going to be doing leatherworking. So obviously inspiration is not going to be a thing. This is going to be reworked into ingenuity, and you're going to use your concentration, which will be, again, it seems like that's going to be a time limited thing to guarantee your rank 5s and things like that. If you're certain distance away from your skill ups and things like that, I can see this is a way of trying to slow down one person dominating all the crafts, and so that basically, say you use your concentration up, you can only make 5 of the rank 5 crafts, then someone else has a chance to come in, or that person has another ult they can bring into bear on stuff like that for the work orders. It's going to be interesting how that pans out in terms of how trade chat works. I mean, what kind of interface are we going to have? This is the big unknown, the big questions. If it's just trade chat, which is also, if that's just on a server-based thing, but the whole work orders are region-wide, and if guilds are region-wide, but you can't do guild orders region wide. There's too many questions here. How much? I think we're going to have to get to the point where it's all or nothing. Everything's region wide, and I think we are going that direction. But then how do we actually interact with so many peoples all at once? It's going to be very interesting. You know, a whole entire region-wide auction house would be very interesting to see exactly what happens to all the prices there. Obviously, we have a bit of cross-realm trading going on at the moment, but that's going to be something that will change as well, I imagine, in time. I can only think, you know, for the convenience of the casual player, we're going to go region-wide for everything to just make it seem like one big whole world. But what that means for gold making is going to be very uncertain. I think if we have things like this with the concentration, and we have things like the transmutes with their cooldowns, and you can only do a limited number of them, then I think if that spreads it out a little bit, it would possibly help keep the prices high and keep profits high for the majority of people. I can see it, I can get a sense that it might kind of work. It's too early to tell at this point. And from what I've seen so far in terms of professions, I think, you know, each of them have their own sort of specializations, the new materials and things. We go over here, look at the ores and things. You've now got bismuth. Is that Akirite? Iron claw ore, core alloys, charged alloys, iron claw alloys, and then you'll have your herbs, the myco bloom. They're still going with the three different ranks of everything. Lure drop, Arathor spear, blessing blossom. So that's all your typical, you know, new set of herbs and things, which will be interesting to see how that pans out. So it looks very, very similar to what we've been used to in Dragonflight. I haven't gone through all the professions yet. Herbalism and mining, I think I did read there's something about a mini game or something might be interesting for herbalism. I mean, you could, you know, especially say maybe the first week if you've really got a lot of time, you could go jewel gathering just to get some early gold going. But that, I believe, will quickly drop off as soon as people work out how to be the most efficient. The prices of these are going to plummet. It's a region-wide auction house. You're competing with someone who's going to know life this and get as much out of it as possible. And as a dad player, I think I heard that phrase earlier, which is I'm definitely much in that camp. I have very limited time, so I'm not going to be competing with those people. I'm going to try and find my little niches, my little cooldowns that I can do, and focus on that. The main thing I'm really going to focus on when I'm playing the War Within is to make sure that I've enjoyed the whole story. And if we can do things like follower dungeons and delves and do a lot of solo content just to enjoy the story, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do all the quests and things like that, because I missed out on all of that with Dragonflight. I tried to do everything with professions and I ended up doing nothing with professions. And that just kind of like took the whole joy out of it myself. And I didn't want to do the whole work order system because the public work orders were non-existent, and I didn't want to fight in trade chat for the personal work orders. And I'm not a member of the guild, so I'm not your typical player. You know, I'm not a very social player from an MMO, but I like to solo play, and because I don't like to commit to anything where I can't just quickly just log out at any moment's notice, because that's just the way I play. I'll play until sort of something comes up in real life, and then I'll stop, and I want to be able to log out quickly, and I don't want to cause an inconvenience to anyone else, which is why I wouldn't take on, say, a crafting work order. If someone's in the middle of a transaction, I'm trying to discuss prices, but something else happens in sort of IRL, then I want to be able to just say, okay, I'm off, I'm going to do that. And I could do that with just the auction house system. I'd either list something or I wouldn't list something. But when you're having those one-to-one interactions, it completely destroys my will to initiate any of those interactions for fear of being in a situation where I'm going to have to bail on them, and it just causes me too much anxiety and things. So I'd much rather just stay out of it. But that's me. That's my personal take on it anyway. So it looks On the surface of things, I mean, I've only just literally just scratched a couple of professions there. I could jump onto another character and look at those, but they're pretty much the same. I'll look into them a bit more detail. I'll go through, get my philosopher's stone on things, and try and sort of work out profession equipment and things like that, and see if there's any potential builds I can kind of get a feel for at this early stage. I mean, it's difficult because we've got infinite knowledge, we've got infinite artisans metal, and we've got all the resources we could possibly want just in this small area. That's not going to be the realities of actually playing. Where are going to be the time gates? What are the things going to limit us? We've still got the whole first craft system and things like that. So there's very much the same with Dragonflight, and with a few changes like we've got with the concentration, which I could see working as a way of just kind of like mitigating the dominance of one character over over all others, especially if we go region wide with all the other bits and pieces. My biggest question though is how are we going to resolve this interaction? Is it the public work order system? Is it becoming part of a guild? Even sort of like a region wide crafters guild that we could be a member of, that people can go and join and get things done that way. It's difficult because people like their own sort of like social corners and things like that. So I couldn't possibly call it at this point. There's a few things I would like, but at this point, I think let's have a look at the professions in a bit more detail. So that's my initial thoughts anyway. It's more of the same. I've got my concerns. I've got my areas that I'm going to focus on. Is a kind of current plan at the moment, but we'll see how it comes out. If there's anything you want me to look at, please do let me know. I'll try as much as I can with the time I've got to find out more. And obviously I'll be writing the Wowhead blog and staying on top of the news that way. So I'll report on anything that I find there. So until next time, enjoy whichever version of WoW you're playing. I've got so many on at the moment, it's hard to keep track of everything. Until next time, happy gold making. I'll see you very soon.